boxing, you're gonna love this.
Hello and welcome to episode 24 of the BoxNation podcast. I'm your host Dev Sani, and this week I am joined by a man who is the Beavis to my butthead. It is, of course, Mr. Steve Lillis. How you doing, Steve?
I'm good, Dev. How are you, fella?
I'm alright. We're seeing a lot of each other at the moment.
I know,
Got the train up to Leeds yesterday.
We're getting too close, mate. We're getting too close in my old age.
For me, there is no such thing as being too close to Steve Lillis. This week, jam-packed show. We look ahead to Lee Selby versus Josh Warrington for the IBF World Featherweight title. It's finally here. I can't wait. They don't like each other. You want to talk to me about British beef? Well, this is premium British beef for a world title in a football stadium. 2 years in the making. It's finally happening, and it's live on BoxNation this Saturday. We also hear from ODV2, and that's Ohara Davies version 2. So this is the tamer OD. This is the nice guy. But even this nice guy, even this nicer version of Ohara Davies, has some not so nice words for his rivals. We talk about the World Series of Boxing coming up this week, and we also hear from Liam Smith on what he made of Jaime Mungia dethroning Saddam Ali in New York to become the WBO World Super Welterweight Champion. As you can tell, it's packed. As you can tell, I am pumped. And you, yes you the listeners, well, all you got to do is listen. Enjoy. Well, let's get right to it. It's fight week for Lee Selby and Josh Warrington. After years of bitter rivalry and fallout, the pair will finally collide for Lee Selby's IBF World Featherweight title. The fight takes place at the home of Warrington's beloved Leeds United at Elland Road in front of an expected crowd of around 25,000 fans. Well, who better to talk us through it than the man who's putting on the show? Here's Frank Warren.
Frank, you've spoken of this being one of the great fights you've promoted. What are the ingredients that make it so special?
You've got two guys at the top of their game. It's not like a guy, the champion is ready to go. He's still young and he's done brilliantly well. I think it's his fifth defence coming up. He fancies a job. He's coming to the other guy's backyard. And with Josh, he's really peaking now. He's coming into it. He's a really good quality fighter. He's got tremendous work rate, and I just think that the styles are going to mesh. And out of that, we're going to get something special.
But as soon as you signed Josh, you pushed him this IBF route. Why was this the title you thought he could win?
I've promoted Lee's. I think it's his last fight we put him on, and I've watched him, and I've seen what a good fighter he is. But like all fighters, he's got certain things that I think are certain vulnerabilities, and I think Josh is the guy to exploit them.
For you as a promoter, what's it like, coming back to stadiums again, doing 25,000?
It was fantastic. That's what we do. We've all, I can't remember how many stadiums I've promoted in over the years, but this is a first being in Leeds, and it's a first for Leeds as well. So we've a little bit of history there. It's fantastic, and it looks like we've got the weather with us. We've got the fans with us. We've got the Kaiser Chiefs. He's playing him in. You can imagine what the atmosphere is going to be like here. It's just going to be unbelievable. This place will be jumping on Saturday night, and I'm hoping we get the result.
Are you a Kaiser Chiefs fan, or is that more Francis or George?
I predict right, my son. This is going to be something special. I like the Kaiser. I like Ricky. I think he's a great front man for a band. A lot of energy, and there's going to be a lot of energy in the ring as well.
With Josh's career, you went out on a limb to sign him. Besides what the tickets he sold, what else is there that appealed to you?
I think he's a nice guy. I like Sean. Sean, trains with his dad. He's a fantastic fella. They've got all the ingredients. It's all there. That's all those ingredients there to turn this into something good. And and he can fight. He can fight. It's funny. Some people say, he's only this good, but he keeps winning. And his last fight, I thought he looked really good. He won well. He keeps winning, and he's a winning fighter. And I think he's one of those fighters that you haven't seen the best of him, and you haven't seen the fight in him yet, the big fight in him. And I think this is the big fight for him. I think he's going to deliver.
Do you think with some people, because he's got that sort of angelic face, he doesn't look like a boxer, does he?
Well, he's a bit like me, So I used to have one of those. Now he's got that angelic face. He has. He doesn't look like a fighter, but he is a fighter, and he's a very good fighter, and as is Lee Selby. This is going to be something I think that's I just feel the atmosphere, the hairs are going to be standing up on the back of your neck, and I just feel the fight, because of that atmosphere, I think the fight's going to be really good.
If your man wins, how much bigger can this become with him?
Well, obviously we keep going. I mean, the one problem you got is you can only put fights on these stadiums like Leeds in summer because of the weather and the football season's on. But they've got a great arena here, and we can capitalise on that. We've built him. We've put some good shows on over the last year with him, and he comes through. It's just going to get better and better.
I mean, there's talk of him fighting Carl Frampton. I know you're not building that up at all, but would the business sense mean to keep them apart for another year, given that they're both open-air fighters in their own right in separate cities?
That is the thing. I mean, him and Carl would be an open-air. Can you imagine all the Belfast supporters coming over? You've got the Leeds supporters. You'd need a big stadium for that, and that would be some atmosphere, wouldn't it? That would be great. So we'll see. But first of all, let's get Saturday out of the way and see who comes through.
Okay, well, how's your man going to win on Saturday night? I think we know you're predicting.
I think he can win it. I think he can win this on points. That's what my brain is saying. It's going to be a tough fight. It's going to be fought at a very, very fast pace. But I think he's got the work rate, and I think he's got the desire and the will to win, to take him through a points win. And if he stops him, that'd be phenomenal.
Well, that was Hall of Fame boxing promoter Frank Warren. Massive open-air stadium show for him this Saturday night. He's backing Josh Warrington to win on points. Let's hear from the challenger.
Josh, you spend every winter sat behind us there in the Revy stand. Yeah. What's it going to be like in the centre circle Saturday night, but not in a charity football match?
A little bit different. I've never pictured myself playing, being on the pitch or taking part in a competition on the pitch. I'd always would have loved to have played, on this pitch, playing football as a kid, but I just wasn't good enough to left feet. But to have an event here with myself boxing, I have to pinch myself at times. I'm massively honoured to do so. So many are going to be turning out. I've Leeds United legend is walking us to the ring, local legend band, and it's going to be an event for the city.
Ever since you was a little boy, when you first walked in a boxing gym, quickly fell in love with the sport, was a bit of an active kid.
Yes.
And all the years of supporting Leeds and this fight being 4 years in the making. Do you ever think it would ever get to even this fight, let alone this stage?
No, not all. I've openly said many a time that for me, a British title I would have been happy with. And I set my career out to be British champion, but I did that at the Leeds Arena a few years ago, and age of 23 I remember going back to change rooms after I've done it. What next? Obviously my intention was to defend it and win it outright, so I could keep it on mantelpiece until the day I die. But opportunities come on to go up a level, and went on to win the European. And the opposition started talking about fringe world level, and then world level. And the next minute it's been talking about world titles. So I've just taken every step as it comes. But when I remember winning European and thinking, wow, I'm European champion. The next stage is a world champion. It's a world title. It's like I ain't even given half of what I can give, and I've still got much time on my side. So why not dare to dream? Why not dare to go further and have a plan of going all the way to the top? We're that close away now, and now fight for it in 4 days' time. I can make any kind of crazy dream a reality.
Tell us what you think of Lee Selby as a fighter, and do you respect him?
I respect his achievements. It takes a very good fighter to win a world title, and a better one to defend it as many times as he has. Obviously, anyone who's in a position as a challenger for a world title will give their absolute everything, because they don't come about often. Some people never even get a chance to fight for a world title. So he's had to do what he's had to do. But with that being said, in terms of the way he's conducted himself, certainly over the years when he's come about my name, I think he's I don't even know I don't want to say it on camera, to be honest with you, because I think he could have gone about it a bit more professionally. I've never badmouthed him up until he started badmouthing me and discrediting my achievements, and anytime anyone asked him a question about me, he'd always shoot me down. But then when it talks of potential fight coming with me, he'd flip the coin, and then he just saved his back a bit by saying some nice things. So I don't like that, me. I think if you're gonna have an opinion about someone, be straight and just say it how it is and stick by that opinion. But he's chopped and changed it many times. So as in terms of that, you know, I think he's a prick.
Okay, 25,000 West Yorkshiremen in here, or mainly West Yorkshiremen, I should think here. Kaiser Chiefs, Lucas Radibiu, unless you come from these, you won't realise what a hero he is. Will he be faced? He says he won't. By the fans.
We'll see. Many of, the atmosphere gets talked about because it is one of the best atmospheres in the world. People might toss up a coin between this and Belfast, but very, very passionate, very, very noisy. And over years, you know, people who have come to face me in the arenas or wherever, I've been intimidated. They've crumbled prior. Some have buzzed off it, like Amagassi. They just love to be there. We're taking it all in and waving at the fans, even though they were shouting all of abuse. He didn't have a clue what they were saying to him, but he enjoyed to be there. I think little things, what I've seen from Lee, how he's behaved when I've said a few things in the press conferences, etc. He's snapped too easy. And we've still got the weigh-in. We've still got Saturday night to come, so you can't prepare for this. And it's been a long time since he's been a headliner. You know, there's been a lot of media attention. It all takes its toll on you. I'm used to it now. I can separate myself from this to going home and being a different person. So I'm used to all this, but I don't know, mate. If he walks out here and for 1 second he thinks about the crowd, and he's distracted, isn't he? So for me, I certainly know it'll help me. I know I've been in a away fight before, and I've been an home fighter, and I certainly like fighting at home.
And is it right your dad Sean Hagan was in Samir Mumemmi's corner the night he beat Lee Selby?
He wasn't in his corner. I was still amateur at the time, and he were training pros by then, and he got approached by some lads who were training Samir at the time from Hull, asking for a bit of advice, and so he helped out with the training camp, sparring and coming up with game plans and stuff like that, and obviously it's then in the history now that Samir went on to beat Lee that night.
Do you see that maybe as a bit of an omen? I don't know if you're superstitious.
I don't know really. My dad does a little bit. He says he's already won the lot, but for me, nah, it's me and Lee, innit? It's me and Lee. Obviously my dad's come up with a game plan, and we've been successful 26 times beforehand, and I see being successful for 27th as well. Let
us know how you're going to be successful when you're in that centre circle in a boxing ring.
I always say it, Josh Warrington win. You know, you don't know how things are going to go. You might go to aim a punch and it don't come off, or you might come through with a punch what you think is going to miss. So I like to be in control of what's going to happen. I think, you know, it's going to be a Josh Warrington win. Well, I know it's going to be a Josh Warrington win, but someone's niggling at me. I'm going to knock him out. And, you know, this might get laughed at now because I'm known as a pudding puncher, but you look at our stats, you know, in last 10 fights, my stoppages have come at this kind of level, and as we've been going up, and I'm feeling stronger than I ever have done, and I'm confident on that one.
Well, Steve, before we hear from Lee Selby, I'm going to bring you in here. Josh Warrington fancies that he can knock Lee Selby out. Can he do it?
Knock him out, that's a massive ask. I know Josh has stopped 2 of his last 3 opponents, Dennis Sealand, and I think Patrick Hyland also got stopped. But Lee Selby's levels above then, and if Josh is going to win, he's going to have to do it the hard way, you know, relying on his fitness and his engine. I think that is just Josh a little bit over pumped when he gave that interview talking of knocking him out, and I'm sure his dad Sean O'Hagan will have the right game plan, not one where you go just looking for that knockout. Of course, if you get the opportunity and it comes, great, but that's a huge ask and a huge boast of Josh's to say he's going to knock Selby out, who is one of the featherweight division's very best, you know, and you're talking there in a division that's stacked with talent.
It just feels, Steve, like stars are aligning, though. If Josh Warrington had dreamt up how he wanted his big night in boxing to go, you know, him fighting for a world title, I would imagine it would go the Kaiser Chiefs playing him into the ring, being walked to the ring by a Leeds United legend in Lucas Radaby, and it happening at the home of Leeds United at Elland Road. Stars are aligning. You just feel things are going his way.
look, that sort of thing's certainly gone his way. The Kaiser Chiefs are doing 4 or 5 songs. You know, they're setting up a stage, I think, in the corner. The ringer being at the halfway line, he sits behind one goal in the Don Revy stand, you know, and he did a radio interview 2 years ago when he was European champion, and he did in this interview. He said, "Who would you have walk you to the ring?" And he said, "David Batty or the chief himself, Lucas Radaby."
Oh, wow.
A month later, he went on this radio show again, and Lucas Radaby was on the other end of the line, promising to come over and walk him to the ring. And unless you come from Leeds or you've covered football in Leeds like I have, Lucas Radaby is held in the same status there by younger fans as what Bobby Charlton is at Manchester United. He's an absolute hero there. And I bet there'll be people more interested in the Chief Radaby than the Kaiser Chiefs.
Quite possibly so. Talk to me, Steve, about preparation, because here's one thing. I when I look at Lee Selby, when I look at Josh Warrington in particular, Josh Warrington has looked in shape and almost on weight for maybe 2 or 2.5 months now. Yeah. Is there a danger he's overcooked?
Hey, look, there's always that danger, but you know, there's a lot of people around him who do different bits of training. I don't think that's happened. What reason I don't think that? I was filming him on that BoxNation meets. I'm sure it's being repeated at some stage this week. Yeah. 2 months ago, was it, Dev? You sent me on that assignment, and he looked really well, and I'm thinking, myself and Andy Cook, the camera, thinking, wow, he looks well, you know, nearly there now. And his dad was telling him to go home and eat some food for them couple of days afterwards. He was 2 or 3 pounds less than what he should have been at that stage. But when I saw him yesterday, he didn't look as drained as what I've seen him in the past in the face. Obviously, he looked tight, but he didn't look nowhere near as drained as I've seen him in the past. And that tends to make me think they've got it all bang on with the weight.
And what about Lee Selby then? Obviously, that there's been times in the past he has actually come in under the weight. I don't think there's been a struggle where he's come in overweight and he's trying too hard and he's had to do things to make the weight. But he comes in under, and sometimes on the scales he looks quite skeletal. Is there going to be anything different this week? You saw him up close. What did you gauge from it?
Again, he just looked like a big featherweight to me. He didn't look as bad as I've seen him in the past, and I find it quite bizarre. I think he came in a couple pounds under for the fight with Eduardo Ramirez. I think it was 1 or 2 pounds under, which I don't think he needs to. He should be coming in at 9 stone, but some boxers do that. I remember we had a fight on BoxNation, a couple, while back when Chris Eubank Jr. fought in Liverpool. He come in at 11-4. Them sort of things I just don't get.
Yeah, no, I hear that, Steve. Well, it's been good being up close and personal to them. What sort of vibe have you got from them this week in terms of? Do you think there's a chance that the pressure could get to Warrington? Could it get to Selby?
It will not get to Lee Selby. I guarantee you that kid has got ice in his veins. Some of the rubbish he had, fed at him from Warrington fans at the press conference was a little bit unfortunate, and it took Sean O'Hagan, Warrington's dad, to step in and ask him to show a bit of respect, which is good. But Lee was pretty much unmoved by it all, and we saw at the first press conference, which was a little bit more hostile. And he was unmoved then. And they also had a private audience in a suite when Leeds played Cardiff. And what Lee was telling me, Josh and the fans were a bit more vociferous even then, before the game they both went to. I think he's a really cool character. We're talking someone who, who's been to America 10 times training, someone who's been all over the world, who's been the away fighter. He's boxed in America. He wants to go back to America. I don't think he'll be fazed whatsoever. Josh, if anyone, he's the one who could get overexcited with the Kaiser Chiefs, Lucas Radaby. And let's be fair, there's 25,000 in the ground. 24,991 will be cheering Josh Warrington on.
I think that's that seems to be the kind of the dig of the week, at least.
Also, it's the thing that it's the dreams. All these dreams are coming up, and can that lead to getting overexcited and making mistakes and getting hurt and maybe stopped?
That's just it. I think that would be the concern if you are a Warrington fan. Is he going to get too excited? Is it going to get to his head? Is he going to walk onto something? And I guess we'll have to see on Saturday night. One thing that Warrington said in that interview about the Leeds fans, getting at the opponent. He talked about Amagasa, the Japanese fella that came over, the 7-foot Japanese fella that Warrington beat at the Leeds Arena, and people were shouting stuff at him. And Amagasa just kind of smiled because he didn't have a clue what they were saying.
Yeah.
But Lee Selby will know exactly what they are saying to him. He's known exactly what they're saying to him during these press conferences. But again, it's one of those where, as you said, Steve, ice in his veins. This is a guy who found out his mum died and then fought the next day. That's
right.
That's the sort of character that perhaps can't get unsettled, unnerved by a bunch of rowdy football fans.
Yeah, he won't. Yeah, that's the one thing. Look, I don't know. No, it's a great fight, and you don't know who's going to win. If Warrington wins, he's going to become a huge star because of the fan base, and he could become mainstream pretty quickly. And I think Frank Warren is hoping for that.
He's made it very clear. He said interviews,
You just don't know who's going to win. But what I will say is, if Warrington loses, it won't be because the crowd's unsettled him. It'll be because he's been beaten by the better man. He'll be unmoved on Saturday night by the crowd.
And where does Cole Frampton fit into this picture? He's just had a fantastic win over Nuneaton Donaire. August the 18th or August 25th, it's late August, is booked for Windsor Park. That man is going to fight there. There needs to be an opponent. Well, the division is hotting up. It's been hot for a while, but it's really starting to take shape. There's Selby Warrington on Saturday night. There's also over in the States Gary Russell against Jojo Diaz. That's for the WBC belt. So options are kind of popping up everywhere. If we're looking at Carl Frampton, people are going to be just coming out of fights and might be ready for August. So let's get back to Selby Warrington this Saturday night. Let's now hear from the world champion, IBF World Featherweight Champion, Lee Selby.
Lee, you've been here for Leeds play Cardiff, 2 press conferences, you've had loads of stick. Do you feed off that?
To be honest, I just take it all on my stride. It is what it is. At the end of the day, we're going to fight. Well, a little bit of stick at the press conference ain't going to faze me.
Do you think Josh thinks you're getting phased over the abuse you're getting?
To be honest, I'm not sure what he thinks, but if he does, he's certainly wrong.
A lot of the talking's been done by Josh in the build-up to the fight. What's your opinion of him as a fighter?
I mean, he's a decent fighter. He's well-rounded. He's had some great learning fights on the way through. But I don't think he's outstanding, but he's very good, and he's earned his shot at my world title. He won a final eliminator, so when the fight's on Saturday night, we'll see who's number 1.
Your trainer Tony Ball says he's not an elite fighter. Would you tend to agree with that?
Well, he's not an elite fighter, no.
Who would you call the elite fighters of the featherweight division then?
The likes of Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell Jr. They're elite fighters. They're a different class.
Do you include yourself in that though?
I'd have to beat one of those guys to put myself in the. I'm not like at the top of the elite at the moment.
Why do you think that is then?
Because I haven't had a fight against another elite fighter.
And you've been out in California training for the fight. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, it was my 10th trip to the United States on a training camp. We do a regular. We travel around the gyms. We sort of made like the Maywood Boxing Club our home gym, our base when we're out there. Spar with anybody, whoever's in the gym. We'll go to the Wildcard, spar whoever's there. We don't ask no records, no names, as long as they're around about my size. Chris Sanigan matches me up, and I'm in there fighting for my life.
You're in the gyms where they're all Spanish speaking. Are there plenty of people there who just want to jump in there and think they're going to teach you a lesson because you're not a local?
Well, not so much now when we go over there, because like we're sort of known. But when we first went there, we go to all these different types of gyms. Not many of them speaking English. They hear Chris Sanigan's English farmer accent, and they probably think they got an easy matchup. They see us box, and then we gain the respect from the gyms in that way. Now we go over there, we're welcome with open arms.
What else do you benefit from being away from home? Because I know you enjoy also training in Newport at Tony's gym.
Yeah, that's my main boxing gym, and it has been since I turned professional. I started with Tony Borg in St Joseph's, and that's where I led my career.
How do you envisage the fight going when you play it through in your mind?
To be honest, I don't really play the fight through. I just turn up and box on the night. Just another day.
But is this the biggest occasion you've been involved in as a boxer?
Yeah, well, it's an outdoor football stadium fight. There's a massive crowd, and it's been well publicised in the TV and in the press. there's a lot of like neutrals tuning in to watch the fight, and like casual fans also, not just boxing fans. So there's a lot of eyes on it, and it's a big event.
You seem to think that everyone who's not in Leeds on Saturday night is going to be rooting for you. Why is that?
Well, most of them. It's just the way Josh Warrington's been carrying himself. Not so much in this press conference, but in the first one, he was like a, how could I put him, like a school kid, like a bully on the score there, like just mouthing off, and he's lost a lot of fans from around the country. I believe.
Do you think there's a bit of bullying him in the ring?
If he could be a bully outside the ring, I think he would be.
Why is that?
Just the way he is, I think. Just his nature, just his makeup.
Now, you won't give a prediction at a press conference. Is it going to be points or a knockout win for you?
Just a win. Like I said in the press conference, I'm not Muhammad Ali. I can't pick a round. But like on this social media, I get people messaging me on Facebook. What round am I going to win? If I knew that, we'd all be rich.
On Sunday morning, what's the first thing you're going to treat yourself to the weekend?
The first thing I'll be doing is FaceTime with my children and my partner back home, and I'll probably treat myself to a nice bit of cheesecake.
Well, we can talk all day about who's going to win this fight. Is it going to be Selby? Is he going to retain that title? Is he going to take the belt back to Barry next week? Or is it going to be the fulfilment of a dream for Josh Warrington on Saturday night? If you're in Leeds, if you're in Yorkshire, do you know what? If you're in England, get yourself down to Elland Road. The weather's good. There's still, I don't know, a handful of tickets available, but it's doing very, very well. Or just watch it live on BoxNation. We'll be on air from 7:30 this Saturday night. The IBF World Featherweight title on the line. 2 years in the making. Selby Warrington. Don't miss it. Also returning to action this weekend is one of the most colourful, one of the most vilified, and one of the most talked about names in British boxing. Hard-hitting super lightweight Ohara Davies gets a run out on the Selby Warrington undercard before a mouth-watering showdown with Josh Leather next month. Steve Lillis paid Odie a visit and just wanted to make sure he wasn't overlooking this weekend's work.
Of course, I'm not overlooking next week's opponent. He's not the greatest opponent, but he has been in there with a few good names, and he's taken them the distance. There was just someone that I can't overlook, and I'm working hard for this fight. But I know that I'll come through this fight. Easy work within the first 3 or 4 rounds. He'll be done, and then Josh Leather's next.
A lot of prospects say they want to be thrown in. You demanded Josh Taylor, you got him, it didn't happen for you on the night. Straight away, you with Frank Warren, you get a fight against Josh Leather. You really will fight anybody, won't you?
I remember when MTK phoned me and they asked me if I'd take this fight, Josh Leather. It didn't even take 3 seconds. I was like, yes. As soon as they asked me, I was like, yes, because I know that I can be the best at what I do. I work hard, so why can't I be the best? So I feel like if I work hard, then I can be the best, and I want to prove it. And even though I fought last year and I lost, I feel like a lot of mistakes were made in that camp, and I feel like if I do things right, no super lightweight out there can beat me. And because I've been out the ring for so long, people are now starting to see me more as a personality and not a fighter. And now it's just about putting back into everyone's mind what I am and who I am, and I will be the best.
Though we don't look past Sabir, Josh Leather is a fight though where you can prove you're a fighter and not a social network personality, isn't it?
Exactly, 100%. Leather's a really good, he's a really good fighter. I had never seen him fight until I said yes. After they phoned me and I said, yeah, I'll take the fight. I went online and I searched him up and I realised that he's actually good, because I had heard his name but I didn't know that much about him. So I saw the fight when he fought Glenfoot, and I realised that he had over 80 amateur fights. I had 18 amateur fights. I didn't win anything major as an amateur, so he's done a lot more than me in terms of amateur boxing. But in a pro game, this is my game.
Okay, he won the ABA title, did a lot more as an amateur, and as you say, more experience. Do you see yourself as the underdog in that fight?
In a way, yeah. He did win like the ABAs and stuff, and I see myself as the underdog because I'm so underrated right now. A lot of people are more looking at me like I'm the B side, when I know that I'm the A side. I know that I'm the A side in terms of I'm not taking a step up. I've fought people in the pros that are a lot better than him and that are a lot highly ranked than him. He ain't fought anyone on my level yet. So in that sense, yeah. So I think I'm the A side, but I've still got the mindset of of the underdog.
You've been a bit harsh on Terry Flanagan lately. What's all that about?
Terry Flanagan mentioned my name in an interview that I saw, and like I think Coogan said, "Oh, I see that Ohara Davies has been saying things about you," and then Terry Flanagan said something which I felt a bit disrespected. But I had never mentioned his name, so where Coogan got that from, I don't know. But this Terry Flanagan had never mentioned his name. He's not relevant. Yes, he's been a world champion at lightweight, but who knows who he is? I'm a bigger name than him, and I will always be a bigger name than him. Terry Flanagan will always be irrelevant, always.
And what about Jack Catterall, the British champion? What category does he fall into?
Catterall, I reckon he'll get there one day. Once he gets a really big fight and he beats a really good opponent, which he will, because I believe that he's good. And he's someone that doesn't really talk much, but I believe that he's got the potential in him to be more than just a irrelevant boxer like Terry Flanagan.
So he's the bigger threat out of the two.
He is the bigger threat out of the two, yeah.
And viewers who are watching on BoxNation, when you box at Ellen Road, tell them what they're going to get from Ohara Davies when he fights Christopher Sabinic.
What they're going to get exciting. They're going to get excitement. They're going to get entertainment. You know, this fight's not going to go past 3 or 4 rounds. You know, at the start, I thought to myself, at first I thought, I'm going to fight smart. You know, I'm going to take my time. I'm going to throw the jab. I'm going to practice on my foot movement and show everyone what I've learned. Now my mindset's like, listen, man, once I get in there, he's gone. So I'm going to catch him with the right hand, once to his head, then left hand to the body, cross to his head again, the fight be over.
So, Steve, you spent the day with Ohara, much like I did a few months back. Have you warmed to him?
Yeah, I have warmed to him. I mean, I did have my doubts when he first come over to Frank Warren and BoxNation, but you know what? I was in Ricky Hatton's gym doing some filming one day with Nathan Gorman, and Ohara had a friend who lives just outside Manchester in Alderley Edge, and he just walked in the gym. Not with his kit bag or anything. So he looked at me, nodded, said, "All right, Steve, pleased to meet you." Sort of smiled. He had this big muscular fella with him. "Hello, pleased to meet you." So what are you doing here? You doing a bit with Ricky? He said, "Nah, I just wanted to come and see him, and I've just turned up to see if he's here today." And he come in, Ricky come over, met him, they had a chat for 10 minutes. Ricky had a really busy day, because he had about 5-6 fighters he was training that day. He watched Ricky on the pads, kept himself to himself, did a quick interview, I think, for the podcast. We were shocked that he'd rocked up. And he said to Ricky, "I'm going now." Ricky said, "Look, when you're back in Manchester, come up and you can come on the pads with me. You want to use this gym to train in with any of your trainers, you're more than welcome to be a guest." And next thing, he asked the lady downstairs who on the reception, could she call him a taxi back to Alderley Edge? And it was genuinely, he just turned up off the street. And I thought, fair play to you, because Ricky Hatton is his idol, and this was his chance to meet him.
There's like an innocence there, Steve.
There is, and when I went to meet him last week, we spent an afternoon with him at the gym he trains in Dalston, and I actually had to say to him, "Look, I've got to put my hands up and say what I've said to you to start this podcast. I wasn't keen on you, but..." And he turned around and said, "Yeah, a lot of people find that when they meet me. And he just laughed it off. I think it's a conversation that comes up to him every time people meet him. You know, people might come and say, "Oh, how can you say that about him?" and all that. But hey, you speak as you find when you meet someone one-to-one. And I can only say how I'll find him. There's other people who people rave about, and I can say, well, I struggle to warm to them. But with him, I found him. I'm not saying, you know, we're different people altogether. So, well, you know, we're not social friends, or never would be, I shouldn't think. Sure. But professionally, he's fantastic to deal with, and there's a lot of enthusiasm in him, as proven that day he rocked up at Ricky Hatton's gym.
Well, there's also enthusiasm when he starts talking about his rivals. You know, he appears to be a bit tamer now. He's not going all out, you know, he's not shouting his mouth off kind of thing, but he's having digs. He's having digs at Flanagan. He's having digs at Catterall. And there's really a kind of almost a quartet, if you include Josh Leather in that as well, who is going to fight on June 23rd, of brewing talent in the 140-pound division. Wow, Flanagan leads the pack, of course, because he's looking to get the world title. But what about the talent in the stable?
Fantastic division. I mean, you could almost argue him against, Josh Leather, the O2 Arena on June 23rd. Another great fight and a great night that we've got on BoxNation. You could almost call that an unofficial world title eliminator, because the winner could go on to fight Terry Flanagan. if Flanagan beats Maurice Hooker on that bill.
Well, I'll tell you,
Obviously,
Jack Catchell will have something to say about that. Yeah.
Yeah, Jack Catchell will have something to say. You must probably say Jack Catchell's ahead of them in the queue for Terry Flanagan. I know the fight Frank Warren wants to make is Catchell Flanagan. It's a natural. They're both from the northwest, Manchester and Chorley, so there's a bit of a derby there. But next in line will be the winner of Ohara Davies and Josh Lever. Now, O'Hara's doing the right thing, and he's keeping him relevant to those fights by mentioning Jack and Terry.
Well,
he's selling the fights.
Exactly. That's what we want him to do. You know, he's selling the fights. He's a great talker. He's a great character. And I'm sure there's going to be some big nights for Ohara Davies coming up. He's back out this weekend at Elland Road on the Selby versus Warrington show on the undercard. And then he's got an absolute cracker on June 23rd at the O2 Arena against Josh Leather live on BoxNation. That's on the undercard of Billy Joe Saunders versus Martin Murray. You've got Triple D, Daniel Dubois fighting Tom Little for the vacant English heavyweight title. Anthony Yard's out, and there's so much more. There are still tickets available at axs.com, but you know what? If you just want to sit back and watch it, do it live on BoxNation June the 23rd. Now, it's not just fight week for Josh Warrington and Lee Selby. No, we are a 24/7 boxing channel here at BoxNation. On Thursday night at 8 o'clock, we are taking you to the Ponds Forge International Sports Centre in Sheffield. Oh yes, the World Series of Boxing is back, and our beloved British Lionhearts against the Astana Arlands, that's UK versus Kazakhstan. That's happening. Steve, I know you had a chat with Galawi FI. He's one of the standouts in the squad. What's going on? What's he saying?
Yeah, he's in good form. He's looking forward to a break once the WSB season ends, because of course he won Commonwealth Games gold. Was one of the stars of the shows there, and he's in a very good fight on Thursday night in the first leg against the Kazakh Tamitas Yusupov, who's twice beaten Johannes Argilagos, who I think is the world champion. Someone might correct me there. And that is the fight of the night. If you're going to tune in on Thursday night, the whole WSB's thing is fantastic. But if you can only tune in for 5 minutes, tune in for this fight. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. Also in the team is Dalton Smith, who won the ABA title and is from Sheffield, so he'll be well supported. You have to use one of your foreign signings, and I think that's going to be the heavyweight Radoslav Pantalev. And I think Niall Farrell's boxing at 56 kilogram. What the boys will be hoping for is to get a 4-1 lead at least for when they go to the away leg in Kazakhstan. And of course, on Friday, we see the mighty Cubans against, I think it's the French team.
Yeah, the Roosters.
Friday night. You know, and whatever side the Cubans put in, you know there's going to be fighters that will be winning Olympic medals and world championship medals over the next few years. So 2 great nights of boxing, Thursday, Friday, ahead of the big one on Saturday night. 3 nights running, live boxing, BoxNation. That's all I have to say. I don't have to tell you it's the channel of champions anymore.
Well, Steve, tell me something on the World Series of Boxing. Then give me a little sales pitch for any boxing fans that haven't quite had a taste of the WSB yet. Perhaps they're unsure it's for their palate. Tell us why it's so great.
It is like professional boxing, and it is between elite boxers who, it's professional. It is they call it AIBA boxing, and it's pretty much like professional boxing. They box 5 rounds. They get to, they have a group stages where the top 2 teams go through. They then have semi-finals over 2 legs, and what it is the quality of opponents you see meeting. You don't see young fighters getting together with high quality pros so early in their careers, and this is why you see so many people who turn professional now fighting for world titles after 9-10 fights, because it is WSB grounded. It's a magnificent competition, and the boxing is of the highest quality. Tell me if I'm wrong after Thursday and Friday's action.
Sold to Dev Sani. I am on board Thursday at 8 o'clock live on BoxNation. It's the UK versus Kazakhstan in the World Series of Boxing. Friday, even more live. It's France versus Cuba. We can't wait for this. And then, of course, Saturday it's Selby versus Warrington. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, live boxing. It is what we do. Now, there was a bit of action last weekend. Don't know if you watched it, but there was an epic and I mean epic fight between Vasil Lomachenko and Jorge Linares, which got all of the boxing headlines, and rightly so. But in the same country, in the same state, on the same night, there was a bit of an upset in the super welterweight division after Liam Smith was forced to withdraw from his May 12th fight with Saddam Ali. The champion Ali proceeded with the date and took on the largely unknown 21-year-old Mexican Jaime Mungia. It did not end well for Ali, and Mungia proved to be too big, too strong, and far too powerful. He walked through Ali in 4 rounds and became the WBO World Super Welterweight Champion. Steve, will hear from Liam Smith very shortly as you gave him a call. Thanks for doing that. But just talk me through this. What happened?
Well, it was a huge upset. Mungia looked huge, and he absolutely walked through Saddam Ali. He dropped him 4 times, and suddenly looked, considering that he was turned down for Golovkin, suddenly looks a serious threat in the junior middleweight division.
Yeah, he looked a monster. He looked a couple of weight classes at least above Saddam Ali, who was, of course, a welterweight who kind of grabbed the title at 154 pounds. That's how I saw it anyway.
Yeah, he was a beast. I mean, we're in his era now. You're thinking, Beefy Smith's a big light middleweight, or super welterweight, junior middleweight, whatever you want to call it in pound, shilling, and pence these days. But guys like Mungia and Jarrett Hurd, they're like monsters at the weight. I'm not saying they're the greatest fighters, but they're so big, they're huge.
And I was picking Beefy to beat Saddam Ali. There was a lot. Yeah, he's just bigger and stronger, and there's going to be regret from Liam Smith that he didn't get there first.
There's going to be big regret. He's now up against an unbeaten Mexican who's had unbeaten in 29 fights, winning a lot, 25 KOs. But the fight's going to happen. I understand that the WBO are writing to Golden Boy Promotions, Zamfa Promotions, and Queensbury Promotions, advising them that they have 30 days to negotiate the fight before it goes to purse bids. So certainly by September time, Liam would have got his chance, or will be getting his chance, I should think.
Well, let's hear from Liam Smith on what he made of that fight.
Liam, thanks for joining us on the BoxNation podcast. First of all, your reaction to Saddam Ali's defeat to Jaime Mungia, who replaced you and beat him at the weekend.
I was gutted, not so much about the kid that beat him, but I was gutted to see someone beat him in that fashion. Obviously, I was confident I could go there and kind of do the same job on him. I was always confident that I was too big and too strong for Saddam Ali, so it was gutted to see someone else kind of get there before I did.
Yeah, because I remember I spoke to you when we saw you in Preston. You had that glint in your eye, and you said to me just even off camera, Steve, I'm going to go there and I'm winning this time.
Yeah, definitely. I was not going to go there to lose, Stephen. No, you know the type of person I am. I'm not going to go and make up numbers to anyone, and that goes for the best. Obviously, I was confident to go there and beat Saddam Ali, and I was sick to see someone do that before me. But in hindsight, I didn't know the right decision what I made.
Before we talk about Mungia, the decision that you made, was it like a hairline decision? Should I, shouldn't I? Because you could have been ready for like 3 weeks later.
Yeah, it was, Steve, but I knew I was mandatory challenger, and I knew that I've never pulled out of a fight in 9 years of professional, Steve. I've never pulled out of a 4-round, a 6-round, a 8-round, and it killed me to make that decision, but I do know it was the right decision. I was on the couch for 8 days with not one training session, and it was the right decision to do, and I would have had to. It would have been a hard decision if it was a voluntary defence, because I may never ever got the chance again. But on the flip side of it, if I go there and I'm not 100% and I lose, and then I say to people, I had the virus and allergy 2 weeks ago, no one can just sit there and I've lost, and that's that. I won't get another chance because I'm 29 years of age. So when I go there, I want to go there and win it. But obviously now we've got a new champion and we've got a new threat.
Your opinion of Mungia, because he dropped him 4 times and he's getting rave reviews after being, refused for Golovkin.
Yeah, he looks a good fighter. I watched him before, and not even before the Golovkin fight. I've seen him obviously on BoxNation, and I thought he's just kind of a strong Mexican who's got a good bit of backing and HBO backing a little bit. Go to his record, he hasn't fought many people. Now he's world champion. He's just had a great win, so it's one that has to be taken seriously. But you can't get too overexcited on what he's done to Saddam Ali, because Saddam Ali's a welterweight, and Tessie Vargas dropped Saddam Ali for non-puncher back at welterweight, so there's questions about his chin.
Yeah, and does it also tell you how far back Miguel Cotto had gone as well?
Yeah, it does. It kind of think he's puts that into perspective now, how much Cotto was a favourite fighter.
Well, what's the latest now for yourself when you're back? Are you going to have a warm-up or is it straight to Mungia now?
No, I want to fight June. Obviously, I'm going to leave the rest up to Frank and the management team, but to the Mungia fight. But I want to fight June. I'm fit now, and I don't take over to the training camp for Saddam Ali, and kind of fell sick for a week. But I'm back in the gym, and I want to fight June, take over, and then I'll be ready for Jaime Mungia.
I mean, is there any indication where you might fight in June?
No, we'll see. I presume HBO are raving about him and giving him a back, and so I presume they'll either give Mungia a homecoming or they'll put him on a decent bill in America. So I presume he'll be back over there.
You're not bothered about that. You quite enjoy going over there, don't you?
Yeah, I hope it is over there, Steve. I hope it's in America. Whether it's on Golovkin, Canelo undercard September, or its own bill over there. I hope it's over there.
Why do you want the fight to be in America?
Because I want to be. I love everything about the States now, and I want to try and make a name over there, and try and get opponents over there now. So I think if I go there and do a job on Jaime Mungia, those for the other fighters, the Jared Hedge, the Amalis, Jared Hedge, the Charlos, obviously, they're based in America, and I said I want to try and make a bit of a name over there now because I went there and I thought kind of the best about at the time. So I want to fight the world class fighters below Canelo, and that's obviously the names I just mentioned.
Last weekend in New York, as we mentioned earlier, the man for whom we have run out of superlatives, Ukrainian hero Vasyl Lomachenko stopped Jorge Linares to become the WBA World Lightweight Champion. He made history. He became a three-weight world champion in only his 12th fight. It was a highly entertaining bout in which Lomachenko had to overcome some adversity. He suffered a knockdown in the 6th round, but he came back to stop Linares in the 10th. Here's what Lomachenko had to say at the post-fight press conference. And when you hear the voice change, by the way, that's where he kind of gave up on speaking English and just let his manager translate for him.
Thank you very much for all people who come in this press conference. Thank you for all fans who come in Madison Square Garden. So I'm happy, and I wanted to thank my big team, my big promoter, and of course for my family. And I want to say thank you, Jorge Linares, who gave me one more lesson in this interesting sport. Thank you.
Vasyl, was this the deepest you ever had to dig down to win a fight?
Yeah, it was hard, and I have some problem after second round with my hand, so maybe it's help for him show this fight, make this fight much interesting.
Can you talk about when you got knocked down? Was it a flash knockdown? Were you in trouble? And what adjustment did you make after that?
It was a fast flash. That's it.
When you knocked him down, you did one of these. Yes. Were you determined to knock him out after you got knocked down in the 7th round? Was that your game plan in your mind, to knock him out?
No, I wasn't planning. I wasn't planning at all to do that. But sometimes if you plan, it's not gonna come. But I was looking for that punch, and I was very happy I found it.
What was different about him compared to previous opponents?
He was actually a good fighter. He used his speed, and after the 6th round, I relaxed a little bit, and he was throwing a lot of counter punches. And then I relaxed after the 6th round. I kind of already trusted what I fought already. I already did what I need to do, but I was wrong at that time, and he caught me.
Can you talk a little about the finish of the fight? Linares complained a little bit about the stoppage being premature. What are your thoughts on that?
It's not my job to judge or to see what the referees or judges doing it. So if a referee decided to stop, he might make the right decision. If you think you wanted to continue and you understand the referee can stop a fight, so you need to stood up a couple seconds before that and to show what you were capable to continue your bout.
you had been knocked down in the fight. Do you feel that that may actually help you, where opponents may be more eager to take the challenge of fighting you? And secondly, what are your plans in terms of, will you stay at lightweight? Will you look to move up in weight again? What do you want to do after this?
That's what I told to Vice President Carlo Moretti right after in the ring. Right now it's going to be much easier for you to get opponents for me because they all see I'm also a human being. And what I did, I just made easier job for my promoter.
How are you going to employ the lessons you learned from this fight into your next fight? And secondly, it has been reported that Mikey Garcia and Robert Easter are potentially going to fight July 28th in LA. Would you be willing to fight the winner of that fight immediately?
Yes, I'm always interested in unifying the titles. This is why I came to this weight class, and that's what I'm going to be looking for, to unify titles.
Steve, what a fight.
Absolutely brilliant. An absolute privilege to be in the BoxNation studio for it, to watch two of the world's top 10 pound-for-pounders. To me, right now, Lomachenko is already an all-time great, Dev.
Wow.
I know that big words to say, but you go back to his amateur career. You know, what is it? 396-1, 397-1. Absolutely fantastic.
Avenged the one twice as well, didn't he?
He avenged the only loss. He's gone and won two world amateur championships, 2 Olympic gold medals.
Oh.
As a professional, he's won 3 world titles in 12 fights. I think Oscar or something only did it in 20-something fights, Oscar De La Hoya. And if you look at the people he's beaten to win his world titles, Gary Russell, who subsequently won a world title, even Roman Martinez have been a very, very good exactly, a consistent world-class fighter winning world titles. Rigondeaux, Linares, that CV, if you ended your career with 40 fights and your only losses were to those men, you'd say what a good career you had, let alone beat them inside 12 fights. That, for me, makes him an all-time great, and he's one of the best fighters I've seen maybe since Sugar Ray Leonard.
Wow.
He's
Steve,
absolutely another level.
let me ask you this, Steve, and pardon my ignorance, can any fighter from the modern era go down as the greatest fighter of all time? If not, why not?
Because I think, to me, I'm sold on Muhammad Ali. Like, I know it's boring, almost sounds a cliche when it's told. Who knows what's going to happen, with this guy? If he went and won maybe 2 more world titles, people would be saying he's the greatest. Because, if he suddenly went to welterweight and won a title against a big solid man, let's see where he is at the end of his professional career. But for now, he's an all-time great for sure. That there's no doubt. How much further he can go, we just don't know. When I say how much further, is weight-wise how much further he can go. He certainly fancies chances against most of the 140-pounders. Him against Mikey Garcia, that is boxing porn. that is what that fight is,
and he's open to it as well. He's open to that boxing porn,
and that's what makes him an all-time great. He wants to fight people. He doesn't want to go away and say, I want 4 fights, then I'll have a super fight. He wants to fight the very, very best. I mean, the only thing that I can see beating him, obviously, there's 2 things that beat him. There's Father Time if he keeps boxing for the next 6-7 years. That catches every man up. But right now, at this moment in time, the only thing that can beat him is going up in weight and fighting these beasts who are, welterweights come like middleweights or super welterweights, whatever you want to say. That's the only thing that can beat him. He's absolutely unbeatable. There's talk of a unification for the WBO fight, the WBO crown against Beltran.
Yeah.
That will be a horrible night for Beltran. Horrible night, like it would be most people. Who fight this guy. I mean, it wasn't just the knockdown the other night that he got up from and just got on with it. He seemed to have some sort of shoulder injury from the second round. And people were saying that Linares swallowed it, need to shake, turn themselves upside down and have a good shake.
Well, Steve, I mean, I sent out a tweet saying, did he sort of quit? And I regretted it because I saw it in real time, right? I didn't even have time to look at the replays initially. You couldn't see that shot. You could not see that body shot. And then I saw Linares kind of stagger to his feet and he didn't, he was up, but he wasn't giving the referee enough to suggest I'm ready to continue, which maybe if you're ready to continue, you do want to. So I don't know. Obviously, look, he didn't quit. It wasn't like in that sense of the word, but perhaps he could have carried on. Who knows?
No, he couldn't have carried on. Not in my opinion, anyway. If you just watch that left hook in slow, even when you watch it in slow motion, it's like watching it in real time. And I speak to boxers when they've been hit by body shots, and they describe it to me like the head knows everything that's around you. You know, your head is clear, your legs have just gone. And he was just in a state of shock when he got up. And I think the referee made the right decision. Although there's people who do disagree with me. You know, subjective sport, but I think he was a beaten man.
Yeah, well, let's just go back to Lomachenko. There was something that you said, and I'm not going to let you get away with this, Steve. How can he become the greatest fighter of all time? You mentioned something about he needs to go up in weights. You've got Muhammad Ali as your greatest fighter of all time. Is it unfair? Because Muhammad Ali only fought, you know, in the professionals, he only fought a heavyweight, right? He didn't have to do any of that weight jumping. If Lomachenko has higher kind of hurdles to get over in order to enter that conversation, in your opinion.
Yeah, look, back in those days, the 70s, 80s and 90s, leaping up weights and leaping back was hardly ever done. You know, you had people like Bob Foster at light heavyweight who was dominant and didn't do it at heavyweight. It just didn't happen in those times. Times have changed now. Training methods, conditioning, supplements. You know that help you. All sorts of stuff. And when I say supplements, I don't mean illegal ones before people start jumping on me for that.
Sure.
It's a lot more trendy because people see where there's money 2 weights above them. It's like when Mayweather was champion, light middleweights would boil down, light welterweights would jump up. You know, you don't see more. What's unfortunate, apart from Mikey Garcia, no one at lightweight's going to give him a fight. Anyone under 135 pound, he destroys. You know, the only fight of interest would maybe Gervonta Davis because it's a colourful fight. Yeah. So the way he'll have to do that is go through the weights even more. How great it would be if he could stay at lightweight and there was 5 or 6 great challengers around him. That's the problem he's got. So, you know, he'd have to go to something like, imagine he went to welterweight and beat Errol Spence.
Well, that's just it. I feel as though it would be, you know, a Spence/Crawford. If he's to really enter the talk as one of the greatest, if not the greatest of all time, he needs to actually do these things, which he probably can't because they're too big for him. Errol Spence, my goodness, what he's walking around at the moment is probably like 170 pounds, a weight that Lomachenko has never seen in his life.
Yeah, that's right. So at this moment in time, size is the only thing that will beat him.
Well, shout out to one of our biggest fans on the podcast, Anto C from Boston in the US. He did predict that Linares would give Lomachenko some trouble, and well, he certainly did that. He knocked Lomachenko down, but Lomachenko came back. Steve, anything you want to say to Anto and to your general US fan base?
To Anto, keep the tweets coming in because you're the first person who comes online and tells us how great the podcast is every week. And when I'm in Boston, we'll go to my friend Ken Murphy's bar, who runs Dropkick Boxing. We'll go to one of his bars. You can have a large beer and I'll have a fizzy water. I'll really go for it. But that's what we're going to do when I come to Boston, Anto C.
An invitation that I'm sure cannot be refused. Now, Steve, when you were talking Lomachenko, I saw it. I could sense it. You're excited. I've got a feeling that you want to lavish some praise on what we saw over the weekend. So tell me, what you talking about, Lillis?
Well, I've lavished enough praise on Lomachenko, but I'm going to lavish some praise on the promoters, Golden Boy and Top Rank, for showing a lot of common sense at the weekend. They worked together on the fight. You know, even though, you know, Golden Boy had their own date a couple hundred miles further north in New York State at Verona, they worked together so Linares could fight on that bill on ESPN. And Golden Boy had a show on HBO with Saddam Ali's upset defeat to Jaime Mungia. And what was also fantastic, besides the promoters working together, they got in a big group hug with their broadcasters, HBO and ESPN, and they went on air at separate times, which ESPN went on first with Linares, Lomachenko, and HBO followed with the Golden Boy show in Verona, which is absolutely fantastic. And that's something Frank Warren's brought up before, because he'd like to see the TV companies here when there's, you know, shows are going to cross over, getting together and sorting it out. So take a bow to the promoters and a big pat on the back to HBO and ESPN for showing some common sense of fight fans in America got the best of it all with the Saturday. A great fight with Lomachenko and Linares, the fight of the year, and then the upset of the year. That's what happens when you work together.
Now, we are a 24/7 boxing channel here at BoxNation, and here's what's coming up this week. Thursday, 8 o'clock, you've already heard the sales pitch from Steve Lillis. It's the World Series of Boxing. It's the British Lionhearts against Kazakhstan. It's really one that you've got to tune in for. Back your country, back your nation. Yeah, warm up for the World Cup coming up later, where we probably won't win, but we might win this on Thursday, so keep an eye on that. Friday, 7 o'clock, Bunce's Boxing Hour, free to air on Sky Channel 427. All the build-ups to Lee Selby versus Josh Warrington. And also, once that show's done, if you've missed it for whatever reason, if you've gone mad and you've missed it, it will be available free VOD on watch.boxnation.com, which just means you can just go to the website and just watch it. Catch up with it on there. There's plenty of stuff on there. Check it out. Friday, 8 o'clock. Yes, it is more World Series of Boxing. It's the French Fighting Roosters against the Cuban Domidors. Not Commodores, Steve. I know you're a big fan of the Commodores.
What is it? Once, twice, 3 times a lady, and I've got the wrong band. That was Lionel Richie. Was he in the Commodores?
He was in the
close enough. Once, twice, 3 times a lady.
Yeah, I knew I'd get you to sing. Always get you to sing, Steve. Saturday, 7:15 to lead into the big fight. Watch the 15-minute face-to-face show in full, in its entirety. Lee Selby one end of the table, Josh Warrington the other end of the table, John Rawling in the middle, almost as a kind of referee. They don't say nice things about each other. And then from 7:30, we actually get to see the fight. It's Lee Selby against Josh Warrington, the IBF World Featherweight title. Years in the making, all the build-up, all the name-calling, all the Leeds fans, all the sheep noises, all of that. It all comes to a head at Elland Road. The biggest night, certainly, of Josh Warrington's life. Kaiser Chiefs will be there. Lucas Radaby will be there, and it will be live on BoxNation. If you're not there, watch it. There is no better time to subscribe to BoxNation because we've still got the free registration offer going. If you're a Sky customer, use the offer code CHAMPIONS. This is up until this Saturday, so get in there quick, and we'll take the registration fee off, which is usually £8. So, Steve, another week, another great show. We've heard from all the big players, your Frank Warrens, your Josh Warringtons, your Lee Selbys, your Beefies. Did you enjoy yourself?
Loved it. Just on this podcast this week particularly, it's made me just look forward to Warrington and Selby even more. What a fight on Saturday night. I predict a riot in the ring, not just with the Kaiser Chiefs. Special fight, special night it's going to be. And anyone who's in Leeds Saturday and they're at Loose End Saturday night, I'm not sure how many tickets are left. Frank Warren said at the press conference they've set out for 25,000, and I think they're virtually all gone. You might get a few little single seats, your mates might be in one row, but you can still get in there. You've got boxing from 4 o'clock, you've got the cup final on the big screen, you've got the Kaiser Chiefs, you've got Lucas Radibe, and you know what else you got? Dev Sani walking around ringside. That is worth the admission money alone. Selfies with Sani. Tweet them to me.
£10. £10 a pop. Keep those iTunes reviews coming as well, please, guys. I've got we had a couple that came through. I'm going to read a couple out here. So there's one here from Olsen122. Sounds Scandinavian. So again, showing the worldwide nature of this podcast. Love the podcast. This is 5 stars, by the way. Love the podcast, and I listen to it every week. Just a note to Dev: it's pronunciation, not pronunciation. You seem to use the word every week and you're mispronouncing it. And you're mispronouncing it. Otherwise, top stuff. Keep up the good work. Steve, pronunciation.
Pronunciation.
I always
pronunciation.
But yeah, very good. And I hear you, Mr. Olsen. And thanks for the 5 stars and thanks for the general good feedback. I'll read another one here from the Galaxy Brother. It's took me a few episodes to get used to Dev's voice and his sense of humour, but once you get the tongue-in-cheek style, he is quite addictive to listen to. Steve, what about that?
That's good. You've paid someone for that, Dev.
I
like to hear the nice compliments about you. But I've never heard you called addictive, brother.
I'll take it. I'll certainly
take them all, mate.
Money is in the post. I'm not going to read out any of the the other ones. Remember to tweet us any comments at BoxNation TV, at Steve Lillis, at Sani Dev, and remember to subscribe to the best boxing channel in the world, 24/7 boxing at boxnation.com. Thursday, World Series of Boxing, the GB Lionhearts are back. Friday, more live boxing. We've got the French Roosters, who are going to be tamed, potentially tamed, by the Cuban Domidors. And then Saturday night from 7:30, it's finally here. Lee Selby versus Josh Warrington. We can't wait.